presenters for each of those days. The dates will be April 26th through May 1st this coming spring. And with the early winter season, we're hoping for an early spring season. With our event. Cold and rain. Our 8th grade went on a field trip this past Friday, and they went to a tri-college on a tri-college trip. They visited Marine Park, UW Fond du Lac, and MPTC. The focus was on post-secondary training options that would be available to students after graduation from high school. And this is something we do with every 8th grade class, start getting them thinking about what their plans might be, and thinking about high school, and also scheduling courses that they may take in high school to get to one of these programs after high school. So our 8th graders went there. It was organized by Grace Winter, our school guidance counselor, and I appreciate all her work in doing that. Tomorrow we have some CPM math experts coming into the building to observe our teachers in grades 6, 7, and 8 teach the CPM math. And they will meet and debrief with each of those teachers afterwards, giving them feedback on their practice and what they have seen. So this is all part of the professional development that's offered by CPM when you adopt their program, and it really is extensive and more than we've ever had before. So I'm really looking forward to having them here tomorrow. They'll come in again, and I was talking to Stacy Walworth, one of our math interventionists today, and we were talking about even possibly bringing in another CPM expert if we thought that it would be beneficial beyond what's provided. We think we can get that to work. A concert schedule is handed out for everybody for the middle school. Hope you can make a concert or two. That's all that I have.
Thank you, Bob. We too will also have the rep from CPM coming in on Wednesday of this week, observing both our Algebra 1 classrooms, and everything that Bob said is spot on in terms of their purpose. And what's nice for the principals, we get to do the observation along with them, so they get to see what we see, or vice versa. Again, the Veterans Day program was held, and it was a really nice event. I want to specifically thank Maureen Schulke and Tom Nennick. They put that together, and the board will know my purpose in saying that is that we got a really nice phone call from Eugene Gooderall. He was there and made a point of calling us, and literally had a list of people he wanted to thank from the Veterans Day, but Mr. Fink was there, and Dick, I thought it was a really nice program.
It really was.
This year. Winter sports season started over the last 2 weeks. Our girls have their first basketball game tomorrow night. Wrestling and basketball are also going for the boys. Show choir is also off to a start. They've been working for weeks and months, but they'll begin their competitions heading out after Christmas break. As Scott mentioned, we had our NHS induction banquet last night. Ceremony at the high school. The numerous compliments from parents in terms of not having to have a dinner be part of it in terms of paying for a dinner was really nice, and we had a nice reception afterwards downstairs, so it turned out to be a really nice event. Our e-gaming club that you had approved a couple weeks ago had their first event Friday night. We had 18 high school students and Mr. Schultz on Friday after school, cooked some pizza up and set up some competitive e-gaming opportunities for the kids, so they're looking already forward to their next event, and they're probably going to try to expand it to offering other kids from area schools and communities to come in and participate with that. So that was really nice, considering it was the first event they've ever had 18. Our goal was 20, but we'll live with the 18. Our band concert at the high school has been set up for December 2nd. We don't have a date on the vocal concert yet, but as soon as we do, we will put that.
Can you say that high school again?
December 2nd, 7 o'clock in the auditorium. The other event that has begun is our mock trial, and our local attorney this year is Travis Bakatin from QBS. We called in a favor with Tom and John Stork to get one of his new attorneys to help us out, so we've got a full team again. So Ken Paul, they've been practicing on Thursdays after school, and doing a real good job with that. And then the last two items was the musical, The Secret Garden, was held. It was really nice. I was able to get to one of the evenings, and I think administratively we were all there different nights and compared notes, but it got better as the week went on after the dress rehearsal on Tuesday, and it was well received by the community, and the kids had a really good time, and good source of pride for their performance. And then finally, next Monday, our food science class will be cooking a Thanksgiving dinner as part of one of their units. So school board members, you are more than welcome to come up. I think the FFA alumni has been invited, Dick, as well as our staff. So Mr. Kramer's food science class will be, and all we ask is a non-perishable food item if you come up and eat. So,
When is that?
next Monday.
Next Monday? During lunch and what they're doing?
Yeah.
Good stuff, yeah.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you.
Safety reports.
So, okay, so real high level, we had safety week, we had an event, no, so I guess Becky, if you could just speak at a very high level about the experience so far throughout the safety drills and what the aha or takeaway was.
Yep, absolutely. So Parkview, all of us went through a safety week back in September where we practiced everything from a tornado drill, fire drill, lockdown, administrative hold, those kind of things. So kids at least have some awareness of what those would look like and feel like. And then when we got to the 24th of October, we had a chance to actually practice a relocation drill. So in the event that we had to leave building and move to our safe location out off of school grounds, that's what we practiced. So ours actually took only about 45 minutes to do. We had the buses get loaded up. We had 2 officers who were with us to kind of monitor our progress throughout the drill, but we were able to empty the building, get attendance taken, move to load the buses. We load our buses on Walnut Street. So what our kids do is when we exit the building, they walk down the Brickyard Lane and we have the buses waiting on Walnut Street for them to be able to load. We've got it planned out so every grade level has a bus to load onto that is near where their walking path is, so we don't have lots of crisscross going on. They load by grade level. Once the bus is loaded, they head over to the pavilion. We have access in our emergency bag of a key to unlock the pavilion that the city has given us. So we have an advanced team that goes ahead and gets everything set up, gets the place unlocked. We have signs that go on the floor so grade levels know where they are going and classrooms know where they're sitting. Like I said, we had everybody loaded, unloaded, sitting and quietly waiting for announcements once we got to the pavilion, and then loaded back up and back to Parkview in 45 minutes. I think the one thing that I would tell you we need to be better at trying and being willing to try is adding some sort of a challenge that goes along with that drill. So maybe it's blocking an exit. So a grade level or a class that tends to go out the front door, that front door that's not accessible anymore, how else are you going to get out of the building? What else are you going to try to get out of that building? And adding some of those challenges, I think would be the next step for us.
Where do you get
Just wanna make a-
when everybody's on the way home at a certain time or at home?
So we actually
I
have,
will be getting certified as a bus driver, so I'm happy.
Okay, there you go.
well, we do have a shout out already. It's in our agreements to have reciprocal services like the Wilmira School District. So it was on our notes of things that we needed to do, and I went and like, well, there it is. We already did that. Like, nice. Don't have to accomplish that one. But that is a part of the plan. It's probably a good idea to make a phone call, hey, just a reminder, you know. But in the meantime, we we have a school emergency operations plan that is at a Dodge County level. So for them, for first responders, people coming, it's not going to vary that much. I mean, each building's unique, but overall, the basics are similar. So we all know if something happens, we're available, county schools, to provide support. So in the event of that, I would say we have work on the matter that we would be contacted to see, help us with the transportation, if our drivers are not available. I think, Dick, we should have your name programmed into the phones, right? Because you could drive bus.
No, I don't have a license.
No? Okay.
Too much to keep up at my age.
I just read an article, and I think it's very timely for this. It's like, as we want to stretch ourselves and to do these, like, how far can we go? We have to be cognizant of what's happening with our learners, our kids, and all this. So when they learn about the shooting that just happened in Mexico, you know, what does that mean to us? And as we practice drills, what does it mean to families? So yes, totally, if you talk to, at a Dodge County level and at a state level, they want us to continue to expand and to practice more. And we agree. It's just always being cognizant of what does that mean, that, you know, how are we communicating this? When we have a little one and their area is blocked and they can't go through
Well,
it,
that's
like,
the challenge with the
hey,
little ones, is not have them be scared.
yeah, right.
And
Well, and they
try to
all,
emphasize we're practicing.
because they all hear the
practicing this.
news
Right.
just as much as the rest
You
of
know,
us.
honestly, I was just reading through a teacher survey, and one of the questions you ask the kids is how safe do they feel on the survey? And one little kindergartner shared on the survey that they worry about someone coming in and kicking the door in their classroom. And that's sad that we're in a place
Mhm.
that we got little people who are worried about that.
Mhm.
That was the question I was just gonna ask, how aware do you find kids of that age are of what's happening?
They are. I think it's
Household conversations,
household conversations.
older brothers and sisters.
The radio on in the car on the way to school.
Sure.
I mean,
Habits.
yeah.
We went through under the desk with the bomb threats in the 50s.
So how about you, Bob? I just switched.
Yeah, on
to
the
you
same
next.
day, we had a drill. The police officers came to the middle school after Parkview was done with their drill. We started our thinking and practice of this drill weeks before. Megan and I sat and we looked at the procedures for a relocation drill, and we created a script for ourselves that we would follow. Not that we would forget things or we would do the script in emergency. In emergency, we would do our best, but in order to practice and make sure every step was completed, we had the script to follow. Police came at 9:20. At 9:20, we called all students back to their homes. They may have been out at music or some other activity. We all went back to their homes to be with their main teacher. And we did this because our relocation was in response to what we said was a system failure with the heating system. So we put a non-threatening scenario in place for our students. We talked to our students prior to the 24th about the practice drill coming. And it was just to prepare us for an event where something would happen. And when we started at 9:20, 9:25 actually, I went into the first classroom with police officers, and with every classroom, before I dismissed them, I went over the idea that this was a practice drill, the purpose for practicing, and what the 3 steps we needed them to do throughout the drill in order to be safe and to get out of the school into our relocation site. And that was be quiet, move quickly, and listen to your teacher. And those are the 3 easy steps that I tell our students in all drills to do so that it becomes automatic for them as well. They took it very seriously. Our first class left the middle school at 9:31 on a bus because the bus waits to load completely. Mrs. Haney was down on the street in front of school. I was in the building, and she was loading classrooms up, checking them off. I was checking them off as I dismissed. We were in radio contact between each other. Staff took attendance when they boarded the bus. Staff took attendance when they got at our relocation site at CLF, and also staff took attendance when they returned afterwards. So we accounted for everybody, and the last student arrived at CLF at 10:09. It was about 38 minutes to move all the students from the middle school over to CLF. They did move quickly and quietly. Our staff and also the staff at CLF, as well as the police officers, were hugely impressed at how quiet 430 kids can be, including 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, because we had asked them to bring a book along, and when they arrived at CLF, to sit where, where their class was with their teacher and to read their book until we were done.
Was it crowded there, or did they fit?
They fit.
Yeah, they use the upstairs, the actual
The
church
upstairs
itself,
thing.
plus the
Okay.
downstairs
Okay.
level too.
There weren't really enough chairs set up for us, but we didn't see that as a problem. There was a stage with a level and another step, so there was plenty of places to sit. But there were other sanctuaries or places within the building where students could go if they were needed to find a place for students to be comfortable for a longer period of time. So what we would do
What are your takeaways as far
yeah,
as?
takeaways, let me see. Focus areas for next drill. So what I wrote down here for our report was look into implementing a reunification procedure as well. Relocating is fine, but the next step, if we could not return to the building, even if there was a system failure like the heating system, how would we reunify students with their parents in an organized manner? And there's a number of things to consider for that process as well, and practice would be very important there too, to make it go as smoothly as possible without stress and to account for all students. There's also something called a Wireless Priority Service, WPS, as well as a Government Emergency Telecommunication Service, GETS, G-E-T-S. And it's kind of a way to put telephone numbers into your cell phone. And then there's some extra numbers in front that allow you to access or make cell phone calls without interruption. Usually in an emergency, everybody's on the cell phone, the system overloads. This allows access for certain governmental agencies to continue to make cell phone calls in an emergency, and we would need to talk about getting those numbers automatically punched into our cell phones so that it's just look for the name, click it, and it's done. So that would help.
And what Bob's referring to too, as far as phones, these are not like somebody's personal cell phone. These are, we actually have in our go bags, we have cell phones that are purchased that cost us like 50 cents a month to have, just for these situations. But we realize, like, hey, if they're not programmed with numbers and things, what good are they, right? And you got 911 in it, is what you have, which is probably a significant amount of time what they would recommend to. But what Bob's referring to is sometimes they don't work in the event of an emergency because everybody's trying to make calls at one time. So that's what he's referring to.
The other thing that we thought about is maybe doing some tabletop exercises that would actually have, you know, an actual threat involved. And like Becky had mentioned, to maybe have a drill that includes that type of scenario. Because it certainly isn't going to be as organized as an evacuation as it would be when the furnace would. I mean, we have time, kids can put their coats on, we can talk to kids, we can organize, but in a true emergency, it's going to be a lot different.
And all of this, again, is at the same exact time that Representative Warren has helped to create a state statute language about making it okay to notify families or students of doing a fire drill. You know what I mean? That's because there's already even that to some students, just having that alarm pulled triggers some panic. Right, Mr. Zarnoff.
Obviously, we did, on the same day we did the drill, we followed what the middle school did to some degree, and I'll go kind of the highlights right away is that over the years, we've always used fire exits to leave the building. And in this situation, as the middle school did, is what we did was we simply walked everybody out of the front of the building, far more orderly, actually quicker than a typical drill because you're not corralling sets of kids in different parts of the building. So that was the first takeaway, is that based on the situation, we will develop alternate routes. And the other takeaway we realized is that based on the weather outside, if this was truly an evacuation, get away from the building as quick as possible, heading east, two of our routes head east through probably what would be snow-covered fields to Henninger or Kikoski. So that's something we quickly realized, that we will probably use the pavement along the building up to the tennis courts if time would permit. That was the other highlight. Also, as we realize our new building, pathways that now we have the system of the fire doors when you evacuate for a fire drill, for example, doors will close, so there may have to be rerouting of kids if they're in the hallway, because once those doors close, they go the opposite way. What we did do during our evacuation drill, I grabbed, it's kind of what Becky said and Bob said, setting up maybe not challenges, but different scenarios. So I purposely grabbed two kids as we walk out of the building to make sure their people or teachers at the take center would report them absent, and both did, which was what was supposed to happen. Because you get in that mode of drill, you don't become complacent, but I think every now and then when you can do things like that at the high school level where we have that ability with the older kids. Also, when we went out to the take center, something we had never done before was we did set up our office staff in the front lobby, because if this ended up turning into a reunification site, that's where they would be. And that's something we hadn't done last year, so everyone served their role when we got out there. So our next one will be, we believe, something that is more off the premises quicker than this one was to see the routes of evacuation.
Try not to do it again.
No, we won't. And then just the other comment that the team wanted me to mention was that with all our drills this year, the other one that we continue to work on always is during the post-lockdown, where police officers clear doors and buildings. We try to improve that time each time because that's a long time once the building is safe and secure for kids to be locked down. So we set up a little different pattern where we had 3 police officers and 3 administrators each taking a wing of the building, and it went so much quicker than the typical pair that we have. Now, we're at the mercy of, if it's the real thing, how many officers we may have there. But we tried to split into 3 teams this time to clear rooms.
The local PD, they came and they did official like safety assessments of the buildings that are in alignment with the Department of Justice form. Did those come back?
I've not seen that.
Okay.
They
They
met
came
with each
in-
one of us, and
okay.
they can talk with us about what
Okay.
their findings were.
That's a lot of work, so that's not something that's gonna come in one day and we'll get the report back the next. So that makes sense that they're still out there. So that's another piece that we added onto it too. We did debrief all of our procedures and the experience with the local police department, and it was great to just keep fine tuning our practices when it comes to safety. So thanks everybody for sharing your experience. So until next year.
So this is the first that we've had to sign something?
Yeah, this is first. It started last year, actually.
All right, new business. We have resolution 1920-113, approved the hire. So Claire, special education. Joe,
Second.
second by Jen. Okay, just gonna,
Yeah, I can speak to it. So we, at the, I think it was the last board meeting, Kara came and shared our staffing level and shared the amount of para positions that are still, paraprofessional positions that are still vacant. So, hey, we're filling it, okay? So with that, I can see the compensation with this has a $13 starting pay, and then also $2 that's for being in the alternative learning environment. So it's a $2 stipend, I'll call it, in order to support that working in the more severe behavioral needs program. So this would be someone new to the field, and we're just fortunate to have somebody joining the team. We have plenty of vacancies that are still there, and we also are dealing with some just, if our aides are not here, we're having a tough time finding subs. So definitely excited to have somebody on board. This is
any questions for this approval to hire? Joe?
Aye.
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 Motion carried 601. Resolution 1920-114, approval of early graduation and requests. Need a motion?
So moved.
Deanna? Second by Dick. Lee?
You've seen the letter I've shared. I did make a point in that one paragraph that when we speak to the kids, I know it's the board's wish that they do participate in commencement, so we'll make sure we speak to them. I also, before the meeting, left at your chair a list by name and a profile of what their 8-semester plan was. Obviously, that's confidential because it is a student record with the names on it, but we're really excited for this group of 7 because they really engaged with the process of making a plan, and I think it spoke earlier, Ms. Fink, you talked about the other things that aren't on the report card. These kids, I think, are a good example of they found a pathway, have an opportunity for some post-high school, either training vocationally or education or employment. We'll meet with this group as soon as possible. What I did not put in the letter, however, just as a reminder, they all understand that the agreement they signed has to be met in terms of their credits. So as we head into the end of the 7th semester, if they've not met that obligation, this is removed. I don't think we'll have any of these kids in this case, but they also can literally change their mind if they come into January and wish to finish the school year with us. They can do that.